golden glow of lantern light spilled from the crooked windows of the Toadstool Tavern, cutting warm slices into the misty evening. Inside, behind the worn oak counter, Bartleby the frog wiped a pint glass with a square of soft linen, humming a song only the oldest pond folk would recognize. Business had been slow that evening, just the occasional moth drifting in past the door and scattering of crickets turning up in the rafters. Bartleby didn't mind. A quiet night meant time to polish the mugs until they gleamed like the full harvest moon. The little bell above the door gave a jangle. Bartleby looked up, blinking his wide, wet eyes. In tramped two familiar figures. Tamsin Quickwhistle the chipmunk, with his ever-present dagger slung at his side like an old stubborn friend, and Marin Underborough the rabbit, crossbow slung casually over one shoulder, her ears twitching sharply at every creak of the floorboards. Bartleby's cloth froze mid-wipe. "Now what's all this, then?" he croaked, peering over the counter. "Oughtn't been needin' stealing string to fetch a pint, lads." Tamsin just tugged the dagger sheath a little tighter and heaved himself up onto a stool with a weary grunt. "Best pour me a drink first, Bart," he said, low voice as drum as autumn leaves. Marin pulled a stool up beside him, crossbow resting against her knee. She said nothing, but her eyes, sharp and watchful, never stopped scanning the tavern's windows. Bartleby set down the shining glass, reached for a sturdy mug, and began filling it with a slow, steady pour. "Well," he prompted, half whisper, half worry, "what's stirring in the woods tonight?" Tamsin wrapped his small, calloused paws around the mug, took a long swallow, and wiped his mouth with the back of his paw. Then he leaned in close, voice dropping to a rumble. "Something's moving, Bart. Out past the fern hollow. Big, slow, makes the fireflies scatter like they've seen a ghost." He tapped a finger against the counter, rhythmic and restless. "Truth is," Tamsin added, lowering his voice even further, "nobody knows what it is, but the force is holding its breath tonight, and that ain't ever a good sign." Bartleby flickered his eyes to the shadowy corners of the tavern, where the firelight trembled and the dark pressed against the windows. In the distance, he thought he heard the faintest crack of a branch breaking, swallowed quickly by the hush of the waiting woods. He tightened his apron strings with a determined tug. "Well then," he said, steadying his voice, "best pour two more. If trouble is afoot, we'll meet it with full bellies and full mugs." And somewhere beyond the light of the tavern's door, the forest creaked and watched and waited.